Well, as we promised you, today we will begin a week-long look at a subject that I personally find very fascinating. And we have some scoffers in our crowd. I won't mention any names, but here to enlighten us further is Brad Staggs.
Well,
Brad.
This is the start of a series
you're
doing,
five-part series this week. This is UFO Week on American Magazine, and I don't know if I can enlighten anybody because since I got involved in this whole thing, I think I've just kind of buried myself. There's so much information on UFOs. When I decided to do this series, I thought, okay, we'll do 5 parts and that'll be it. That was funny.
You kind of feel like that this country is being indoctrinated.
Yeah, that's a good word. That's the word I was looking for. Over the past, see, it all began in 1947. Let's start at the beginning. A man by the name of Kenneth Arnold was flying over Mount Shasta in Washington. And he saw 9 objects traveling at a very high rate of speed. And he never did figure out what they were. Well, that was basically the beginning of the UFO phenomena. In Roswell, New Mexico that same year, there are reports that the government recovered a crashed UFO and that they still have the remnants of that UFO in a top-secret military installation in Nevada. The Skunk Works, they call it. So it's been a process of over the years and a big question as to whether or not the government is indoctrinating the public to the information that they have in fact been in touch with UFOs and they've captured UFOs and they've been in touch with these people. They're in our everyday life. I mean, we have a box of cereal here with a UFO on the back. Right. You know what? Yeah, a box of kids cereal. Come on. And we have a UFO top down there. The cover of TV Time, one of the biggest shows on Fox, is Alien Nation. Series by Time Life Books on the UFO phenomenon. There's a comic strip that deals with a man seeing a UFO and being ridiculed. There's all kinds of things out there with UFOs, so it's a strange question, but we need to ask this of ourselves. Are we being prepared for a statement of this sort?
It's been over 40 years since Kenneth Arnold had the first major sighting of UFOs in the United States. 9 objects were clocked by the pilot at a speed of over 1,600 miles per hour near Washington's Mount Rainier. The UFO controversy has raged on ever since. America's fascination with unidentified flying objects has been apparent in its insatiable demand for science fiction films over the years, and those films have taken on a strange metamorphosis through the decades. In the 50s, the dark, foreboding look of this island Earth had our world scientists the victims of alien enslavement. The Day of the Triffids told the story of a plant strangely affected by a force from outer space. Films of that period had an ominous, if not terrifying, flavor. It wasn't until the 1960s that science fiction showed its more compassionate side. Programs like Star Trek portrayed humans and aliens working peacefully side by side. Was this coincidence or carefully planned strategy? Robert Exler is a former NASA mission specialist who now delivers talks on alien technology in our society.
Alien technology? What's that?
Television is, as everyone is aware, a very subliminal medium. It is, in effect, a brainwashing technique. That is why we are impregnated with certain logos and jingles that tend to influence our buying. Well, in the same way, we can influence acceptability in a number of issues, and certainly in this issue, which is certainly considered very, very serious on the part of the United States government and the intelligence community.
Exler believes that the public over the years is being prepared for a revolutionary statement.
The government got involved in a number of efforts in films, popular films such as Close Encounters and E.T., which were virtual box office smashes. And in a capitalistic society, you certainly would have to ask the question, why no follow-up? How come there was no sequel? The idea was to bring the public to a point where maybe we can believe that we're not, as humans, the only intelligence in the galaxies.
Leonard Stringfield, a 40-year veteran of UFO investigations, agrees with Exler. The public must be prepared before a concept of such magnitude is introduced.
But you can imagine what would happen to the stock market if something were to come out, be announced by the government or world governments as something of this nature. So they refer to it officially as the cultural shock.
Stringfield's interest in the UFO phenomena was piqued when in World War II he encountered what became known as Foo Fighters, mysterious balls of light in the sky that plagued and harassed pilots. Stringfield claims that the U.S. government has even recovered alien crafts and bodies and has detailed his findings in several research papers.
These are first-hand bits of information from sources who have seen the craft and or the bodies in government custody. These are people who had the need to know, access clearance to see the bodies, for instance, at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base or other areas, or did participate in a retrieval operation.
If the government has in fact retrieved alien spacecraft, why haven't they released that information to the public?
Obviously, if you have some extraordinary technology, you don't really want someone else to know that you have that, especially if you don't know how to use it.
Actually, the government has been giving us tidbits, according to Stringfield.
I think there have been periods where there have been attempts to educate the public or spoon feed, as I say, the public with bits of information. So if something suddenly dramatic should happen, there wouldn't be complete alarm.
Alien technology has even been incorporated into one of our military's new toys, the stealth bomber, according to Exler. UFOs have found their way into every aspect of our lives, even kids' cereal. The company explained that it was only to show how active kids' imaginations can be. Reaction to UFOs is worldwide. Pravda recently reported that a center to study UFOs had been opened in Moscow. Has there in fact been a coordinated effort by the government to slowly release what they already know? Have they been in contact with alien races? If so, let's hope they're all as friendly and helpful as this one.
So you see, it is an interesting question. We need to ask that question. I mean, are we being prepared? And we want to ask you, as you're watching the program, have you ever seen anything? Have you ever thought you saw anything? Do you know anybody that saw something? If you did see something and you'd like us to look into it more and you'd like to see more of this kind of thing on American Magazine, we want you to write to us. We'll have the address at the end of the program, and you could see more of this type of material because it is a fascinating subject. Also, Mount Shasta is in California. It's
That's
Mount
right.
Rainier in Washington. They haven't moved them yet.
This is going to be a fun series.
Yeah.
And I'm coming in as a skeptic, and Lisa's coming in as a...
I believe.
Oh.
Okay.
I was a skeptic coming into it myself.
Really do.
You'll be surprised. At the end of this week, Dan, we'll get your reaction to the whole thing. Tomorrow, we're going to go to the MUFON convention, and MUFON stands for Mutual UFO Network, and it's a mishmash of every different angle on the UFO phenomena you can imagine. It's wild.
I can't wait.
Get ready for a wild week.
I'll be right here.
Brad.
Thanks for being here. Coming up, we're going to showcase Harold Hill. Stay with us.
Dillon, Montana is the town of the day today. Western Montana College was founded in 1897. Today, it's part of the University of Montana system.